Welcome back, everybody. Today's video is going to be a review on a classic children's horror film. My special guest here is from the movie. He really wanted to sing the theme song to his movie, but I told him that he can't do that because of copyright. He's taking a vow of silence for the whole review just because I didn't let him sing. In case you don't know, his name is Gizmo. The name of this film is Gremlins. If you haven't seen Gremlins, and who hasn't seen Gremlins by this point, the basic story is a young man inadvertently breaks 3 important rules concerning his new pet and unleashes a horde of malevolently mischievous monsters on a small town. The opening narration as character's dad, Billy's dad, really works well and sets the movie up as almost a tale that he's telling people, which I feel really fits. The rules that I mentioned before in the synopsis are no bright lights, otherwise it kills, I think kills the right word, the mogwai. Gizmo's used to it by now, so. And no water, because it causes the mogwai to actually multiply. And you can't feed them after midnight. If you feed them after midnight, you get these alien type eggs by the next morning, and they turn into these creatures that are absolutely terrifying. And what you may not know about mogwai, so in the movie it's spelled Mogwai, or that's how it's spelled here, but in Chinese culture it's actually Mogui. But basically mogwai means devil, ghost, or evil spirit. You could definitely see that in this movie after the monsters that are led by a gremlin named Stripe, I believe it. One thing you may or may not know about this film is that the town set, it was also used in a little film called Back to the Future. And also, some of the interiors of the house were actually used in a show that's actually set prior to the movie called That 70s Show. And I think the exterior of the house, like the neighborhood, is actually the same neighborhood that's in Christmas Vacation and Home Alone. The acting is really good. It makes everything really believable. The writing, really good as well. The puppeteering. I'm a huge fan of practical effects, and this film is no different. In the beginning portion of the film, Gizmo actually has a lot more movements and stuff like that. And then later on in the film, he's not really moving that much. So the reason being is because originally Gizmo and Stripe were actually supposed to be the same character before they decided, oh, we gotta have like a villain type character, and not the woman that comes in with a broken snowman head and tries to get rid of Billy's dog Barney. Because of Gizmo's lack of movement in the finale, they gave him the Corvette so that he could drive around in. So it looks like he's got a little bit of movement. Everything it works well. I think there's some stop motion in it too that's really good. The shot that comes to mind that may or may not be stop motion, I'm not 100% sure, is after the YMCA pool scene where Stripe jumps into the pool and multiplies. It's when they're all walking down the street. It also looks like it's a miniature set as well. the blending of everything worked really well. The cinematography in some of the scenes have minimal cuts. They used a bunch of tracking shots, and it feels like the camera's just moving around the characters, and it makes it feel a little more natural. And then with the more intense scenes, they use multiple cuts, multiple angles. In one scene, when Billy is showing his teacher one of the creatures, it's not Gizmo, or he shows what happens to Gizmo or something, I can't really remember. The camera stays on the teacher's face to show his reaction to what's going on. The reaction is very believable. The editing of the scenes properly showcases the mood that the audience is supposed to be feeling in the scene. The music works well. Combined with the cinematography, it just works very good. The lighting feels natural. It doesn't seem like it's stage lighting, or like I'm sure you get what I mean. It doesn't seem like there's lights around the set. It just feels like everything's color corrected or exposed properly. Those are very technical terms. So in the scene where Billy's dad is at the invention convention, as he's talking on the phone to Billy or his wife, I'm not 100% sure, I can't remember, you see this robot walk past. That robot is from one of the first serious science fiction films, but it was called Forbidden Planet, and the robot's name is Robbie the Robot. In the background, Time Machine from the movie The Time Machine. The framing was really good. There's special effects, like it's just really well executed. It's one of those films that is the perfect blend of horror and comedy. It can be viewed as either film and work well within that genre, which is why I think it still stands the test of time a little bit. Even the effects, they don't feel like they don't seem aged or anything. The effects still look probably as good as they did when it first came out. One small issue I had with the film is that I believe there's a small editing error. As Billy's walking towards the YMCA, but it shows it in like a wide shot, and then cuts to a little closer, and it just feels out of place, that one cut. Every other cut, like, it flowed well from the previous shot into the next one. The coverage for shots, for scenes, is different, which I think works well. It's not like, okay, every scene's gonna have like 4 or 5 things that we cut between. It's more like some scenes may only have like 2 shots that they cut between, others may have like 5 or 6, and it works well. The party in Dory's tavern scene, like that's just one of the funniest scenes in the whole movie. I think it spoofs a bunch of Warner Brothers films. One funny moment is when there's a gremlin who's just sitting off in the corner smoking a cigar, and he's got a fedora on, he's got the trench coat, and the lighting is very reminiscent of the classic film noirs of the 40s and 50s. It almost goes into like that narration that you hear, like you're expecting that, and then all of a sudden another gremlin pops up using his sock puppet, and yeah. There's also a shot where there's a streaker gremlin. Funniest scene in the whole movie, I think. Another thing that I feel works for the film is that normally in some films, like when somebody's telling a story, you actually cut away from them and actually show that story happening with the narration over top. In this film, the female lead, yeah, I'm not 100% sure on her name, but she's telling a story about her past, and it doesn't have a cutaway or a flashback. It just focuses on the scene, and I think that really adds to the story. And I really like that scene. It stands out as one of the better emotional scenes in the film. Editing was just perfect in this film. At the movie theater, I believe they were gonna pick a different film to be shown, but the reason Snow White was actually chosen was because of its release date. The final thing I'm going to talk about is the final scene. It's a final establishing shot where the Chinese store owner is walking off into the distance, and it feels like an end to a fairy tale, which could be why they chose Snow White. It definitely did feel like in that one moment it summed up the entire film as a fairy tale, and it adds to the fact that the movie opened on narration, it closes on narration over that scene, and it just works really well as a Christmas fairy tale. Despite the small editing error that I just noticed the last time I watched it, overall it was a very well done film. It stands the test of time. Everything flows great, blends very well. If I had to put a rating on it, on one of my favorite movies of all time, it's not perfect by any means, but it's very close. So definitely a 9.5 out of 10 for me. Hope you liked my review of Gremlins. I think I got everything I could for it. Like, I went over everything that I wanted to talk about, and stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching. See you in the next review.